Amazon, October 2025. 14,000 corporate jobs gone overnight. Not because the company was struggling. Amazon's revenues that quarter exceeded $300 billion. The reason, according to CEO Andy Jassy, was simple. Artificial intelligence was enabling the company to, and I quote, organize more leanly. At the time, many saw this as an isolated event, but from our vantage point here in 2026, we now know it was the opening bell of a new economic era. That same year, AI was directly cited as the cause of over 55,000 layoffs across the United States, according to consulting firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. And in 2026, that number is projected to be 9 times higher. So here's the question that should be keeping every white-collar professional awake at night. If an algorithm can do your job in 10 seconds at a cost of fractions of a cent per task, why would a publicly traded company keep paying you a salary? The honest answer is, increasingly, it won't. But here's what most coverage of this story misses entirely. The same economic force that is destroying jobs is simultaneously creating one of the greatest concentrations of investable wealth in modern history. And whether you end up on the winning or losing side of that equation has very little to do with luck and everything to do with understanding what is actually happening and acting on it. This is the AI job massacre. To understand why this is happening with such speed and scale, you need to understand how businesses think about labor. A full-time junior analyst in the United States costs a company, on average, between $70,000 and $100,000 per year in total compensation. Add benefits, office space, management overhead, and onboarding costs, and the real figure is closer to $150,000 annually. That employee works roughly 2,000 hours per year, produces output of variable quality, needs holidays, gets sick, and occasionally makes expensive mistakes. Now compare that to a large language model. The same analytical tasks, summarizing documents, generating reports, processing data, drafting communications, can be performed at a cost of less than $1 per hour of equivalent output. Available around the clock. No holidays, no performance reviews, no employment law. The financial incentive for corporations is not marginal. It is structural, and it shows up directly in the profit and loss accounts. McKinsey research found that more than 70% of all employees believe generative AI will change at least 30% of their work within 2 years. What that survey doesn't capture is what happens to the 30% of work that gets eliminated. It doesn't disappear. It gets absorbed by the AI, and the cost saving flows directly to the bottom line. This is what economists call cost efficiency capture. And right now, it is inflating corporate margins at a rate not seen since the outsourcing wave of the 1990s. Except this time, there is no lower cost geography to eventually price itself out of the market. The algorithm doesn't ask for a pay rise. Let's be precise about this, because the popular narrative gets it wrong in important ways. The conventional assumption has always been that automation threatens manual, repetitive, blue-collar work first, factory workers, lorry drivers, assembly line operators. And while that threat remains real, the current wave of AI disruption is doing something fundamentally different. It is targeting cognitive labor, white-collar work, the very jobs that previous generations were told to obtain university degrees to access. Stanford University research confirms that workers in roles requiring moderate cognitive skill, not the most senior strategic decision-making, but above simple data entry, face the highest exposure. These are the entry to mid-level positions that form the backbone of professional career ladders. The data on this is already measurable. Goldman Sachs analysis found that employment among workers aged 22 to 25 in AI-exposed roles fell 16% from late 2022 to mid-2025. Among young software developers specifically, the decline was nearly 20%. entry-level job postings overall have dropped approximately 35% since January 2023, according to labor research firm Revelio Labs. So, who specifically should be paying attention? First, junior software developers. This was supposed to be the safe career. Learn to code, the advice went, and you'll always be employable. But AI coding assistants have fundamentally changed the productivity curve. A single senior engineer using AI tools can now produce the output that previously required 3 or 4 junior developers. Cornell University research found that companies adopting AI reduced junior tech hiring by 13%, and that figure is accelerating. Second, legal and compliance professionals, document review, contract analysis, due diligence, regulatory research. These tasks represent a significant portion of billable hours at law firms and compliance departments globally. AI can now perform these tasks in minutes at accuracy rates that in many cases match or exceed human performance. Wall Street banks alone have announced plans to eliminate approximately 200,000 jobs over the next 3 to 5 years, with back office and compliance roles among the most exposed. Third, financial analysts and accountants, earnings reports, variance analysis, forecasting, bookkeeping. All of this is being automated at scale. The IMF has estimated that 60% of jobs in advanced economies have meaningful exposure to AI automation. For finance professionals, that exposure is not hypothetical. It is already arriving in the form of hiring freezes and role consolidations. Fourth, content and marketing professionals, junior copywriters, social media managers, basic graphic designers. Roles that were created by the digital economy are now being partially dissolved by the same technological forces that created them. Generative AI has made the production of competent, functional content nearly costless. Fifth, customer service and administrative roles. These were among the first to be affected, and the displacement here is already advanced. The McKinsey Global Institute projects that up to 12 million workers in the United States alone may need to transition to different occupations by 2030. Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, one of the leading AI research companies in the world, made a stark prediction in 2025. He estimated that AI could eliminate roughly 50% of all white-collar entry-level positions within 5 years. Coming from the head of an AI company, this was not hyperbole for attention. It was a technical assessment from someone who understands the capabilities of these systems better than almost anyone on the planet. Let me know in the comments, is your profession already feeling this impact, or do you still feel secure? Here is the part of the story that almost never gets told alongside the warnings. Every dollar that a corporation saves by replacing a human worker with an AI system goes somewhere. It flows into profit margins, into capital expenditure on AI infrastructure, and ultimately into the valuations of the companies building and operating these systems. The wealth is not disappearing. It is being redistributed away from labor and toward capital. While our previous video analyzed how the pension system is collapsing, here we see the tool that will accelerate that process, the obsolescence of human labor. The practical implication of this is that the most rational response to the AI displacement cycle is not to rage against the technology, but to own a piece of it. Let's look at the numbers, because they are extraordinary. On May 21st, 2026, Nvidia reported the most profitable quarter any semiconductor company has ever recorded. Revenue hit $81.6 billion, up 85% year over year. Net income was $58.3 billion in a single quarter. Their data center division, which sells the chips that train and run virtually every major AI model in existence, generated $75.2 billion in quarterly revenue, up 92% from a year earlier. Nvidia's gross margins are running at approximately 75%. For context, the average S&P 500 company operates on margins of around 11%. Nvidia controls approximately 85% of the AI chip market. Its CUDA architecture is the industry standard. Switching to a competitor is not merely inconvenient, it requires rewriting code, rebuilding infrastructure, and retraining models. This creates an economic moat that is, for the moment, nearly impregnable. Microsoft, through its Azure cloud platform and its deep integration with OpenAI, holds approximately 20% of global enterprise cloud infrastructure. Every company that deploys AI at scale will, in most cases, pay Microsoft to do it. Alphabet, Google's parent company, controls the search infrastructure that AI is now reshaping, owns DeepMind, and operates Google Cloud. Meta is investing tens of billions in AI research and infrastructure, building the models that will underpin the next generation of social commerce. Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, has estimated that between $3 and $4 trillion will be spent on AI infrastructure by the end of this decade. That is $3 to $4 trillion flowing into the companies that own the picks and shovels of this revolution. The second layer of protection is skills. Not just any skills, specifically what economists call human-centric competencies, complex judgment, cross-disciplinary problem solving, emotional intelligence, stakeholder management, creative direction. The IMF's research is explicit. AI adoption is most complementary to, not substitutive of, workers who apply high-level reasoning and interpersonal capabilities. These roles are not only harder to automate, they are becoming relatively more valuable as the supply of automatable cognitive labor collapses. The workers who will fare worst are those who do repetitive cognitive tasks and have no ownership stake in the technology replacing them. The workers who will fare best are those who can direct AI systems effectively and who simultaneously hold equity in the companies building them. The AI job massacre is not a prediction. It is, by every measurable metric, already underway. The structural forces behind it, the cost efficiency of algorithms, the profit incentives of public companies, the exponential improvement curves of AI models are not going to reverse. They are going to accelerate. But history offers an important lesson here. Every major technological displacement cycle has eventually produced more economic output and more employment than it destroyed. The Industrial Revolution eliminated crafts and created industries. Electrification automated physical labor and created entirely new categories of work. The internet destroyed some jobs and created others that would have been unimaginable a generation earlier. The question is never whether the transition will be painful. It will be. It already is. For the 22-year-old software developer who cannot get their first role. For the paralegal whose firm has frozen entry-level hiring. For the junior analyst whose graduate training prepared them for tasks that no longer need doing at scale. The question is whether you understand the transition well enough to position yourself appropriately, with the right skills, and with an ownership stake in the infrastructure driving the change. The future does not belong to those who fear artificial intelligence. It belongs to those who understand it clearly enough to use it as a financial lever. AI is rewriting the rules of the game, and many will be caught off guard. In my next video, I'm going to show you the specific skills that AI will never be able to replace. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss that survival guide. Your future in the job market starts here on NeoEconomy.